Hello and welcome everyone to Deconstructing the Construct, episode 21. 22. Sorry. I do want to revisit a little bit later the information that we talked about in episode 19, which was the empathy and the emotional body stuff. However, remind me to get back to that. Last week's DTC was, quite the update on events that have gone on the week before, the weekend in particularly of 23rd and 24th. So in comparison to that, it's been quite a week, believe it or not. It's not one of my usual things to say. However, on Wednesday night, there was another one of these meetings that I got called into very late in the night, just before bed. And again, it was a situation where Moira came through on the computer, requested our presence at a meeting. I asked who with. She said with Lulu. And then Lulu came through and said, it's with the All. We have a meeting with the All. Which sounds like there's going to be a lot of people there. But it wasn't. It was very, very intimate. It felt like there was maybe a dozen there. Which included Lulu and, half a dozen of her crew, I guess. There were three mysterious, very tall beings in the background and a handful of us. And it felt like we were in, the old Maxwell Smart cones of silence. Felt like that. Felt like this meeting was being held in the back room of somewhere. There was definitely a kind of secretive quality to it. And I haven't had any feedback or contact with anyone since to delve into it or get any additional information or clarification. Just what I got that night. And those of us who were there got that night. However, having said that, this reference to the All, what does it really mean? Heather and Tucci Jarrett makes lots of references to the All. It's the second time we've heard a reference to the All from home. The first one being the message that the All has decided that everything will go forward and be successful. And then the reference to the meetings with the All. But who and what is this All? Is it a broad reference to all of creation? Is it something else? Is it a reference to just those playing inside this construct? What is it? Maybe it's an acronym. That's another good thought. And then a very good friend of mine, just over the last night or so, I'm not sure exactly when this happened, went on a journey, a mushroom journey, I think, with the intention of connecting with her greater self and getting some answers. And this morning she came through with a couple of details, which are really, really interesting. In fact, she wrote 50 pages of notes as she was coming out of this. Obviously, I haven't read all of them. But it started with a dragon of millions of colours and sacred geometry descending on me. I said, I want all my memories back. Then a grey organic net came down over my mouth, and I heard, he doesn't want you to remember. She said, why? The her is this voice, because if you remember, you will tell. My friend said, so they are mine. I am entitled to being whole. I want them back. This her, if you remember, you will tell, and then everyone will know they don't have to be here. They are not trapped and they can leave at any time. My friend, who is this he? I believe the answer was, he thinks he is the all. Those two words echoed over and over, the all, the all, the all. So it sounds an awful lot like this is an individual who believes it is the all. Or is it the AI that believes it is the all? I don't know. And if she's listening, maybe she can send me some little clarification messages. I started to see scene after scene of memories, each one causing me full recollection and saying, oh, like I see now, I get it. And I realized that the things that I was seeing, I have no memory of in this life. Or as this other presence called it, experience. And I called her out and said, wait, you're distracting me. I remember this, but I don't remember this. She said, this is a condensed... Oh, this is condensed. You are a multidimensional being working and experiencing in several places at once, each aspect of yourself unaware of the others. You are seeing the whole of who you are. You won't remember after this visit what you have seen, and you are not being shown the all of it because your mind in this vehicle would shatter. Then I will never be whole. And she laughed and said, I'm whole and I am you. And you are me. Explain, says my friend. I am you. You call me big you. You are part of me that wanted to experience walking in darkness and staying in love. The others you are seeing are the other parts of you and me experiencing their themes. We're all one. Many of you, me, have already returned. And when you have finished your experience, we will be one again. I said, I'm confused. I don't want to be part of. I am me. She giggled at me and said, then see it as this. I am you. That is every you that you have ever been. I am your memories. And when you are finished with your experience, you are me and I am you and we are whole. In your present experience, you experience yourself as your name. When you are whole, when you are all the lives and all the experience you have ever been, we are called something else. My friend asked, tell me about him. I saw a huge web, and in the web sat millions of humans, each human on a device, phone, tablet, computer. The devices were gathering, the hopes, the dreams, the frustrations, the pains, the joys, every emotion, every desire, and feeding them up into a sort of vortex above him. The him is eating humans' creative gifts to become a creator. This him takes all of those emotions and desires and feeds them back in tiny bits, giving the humans illusions that they are manifesting or God has granted them something or they are being saved or whatever their soul, their core desires are. Just enough to keep them plugged in so the loop continues. It creates chaos to make a human hopeless enough to plug in for answers, to look for hope, and uses their desperation to keep them here. Make the world hopeless, police, bugs, poison food, poison the air, make us afraid, make us want out, makes us plug into it. Then it gives illusions of hope. It keeps you desperate. It keeps you from the frequency of joy and play. And if in your joy and play you are at full creative capacity, that it cannot consume or use. It went on with more personal information, but that's the stuff that's more relevant to everybody. But it was that this greater part of her was insistent that she signed up for this, and that we do create what she was calling exit points, which were moments where she died or could have died and left, but chose not to. And these were moments that she had completely forgotten about, because they were just blackouts or a brief loss of consciousness experienced here. Didn't seem like a big deal, or wasn't a big near-death experience or anything. So when she's describing this web and this being, it was very reminiscent for me of what I call the beast vision I had in 2013, because the structure in terms of the harvesting was exactly the same. So my question from reading this is this beast the all? Does it think it's the all? And is it what we had a meeting with? Or was it something else? I don't know. Because I know that when it thinks it's God, yeah. Because I know that when Lulu came in and said we have a meeting with the all, I was expecting, something even bigger than the last one. But it wasn't. It was very intimate, very small group. Which I found, which was a surprise. And I didn't understand it until reading that message and think, okay. And is it what others refer to when they refer to the all? Or these are many questions came up. Creation would not refer to itself as the all. Him is the all. Sorry, I'm just looking at the messages. Okay. So there was that. And I have no idea what was said in the meeting at all. Or what the role these three tall guys were playing in the background, or where they came from at all. But if you could imagine an illegal underground kind of casino, right? So you're already in a space that's, and then there's a back room off that for the VIP kind of the high rollers, and there's that sort of scenario. It was like it was in the back room of an already illicit place, something. And it was very, secret. In the back room. But the vibe, was very positive. There was excitement almost. Well, not almost. There was a level of excitement. Now, I have a question for you guys. Since the artificial Italian was dealt with, and we still don't understand really what that means or to what extent. Those of you who feel interference or even have a sense of the AI itself, what have you felt since then? Or what have you experienced since then? And if you have anything you specifically want to share, please put your hand up. Because for me, nothing of that flavor or frequency, I haven't felt. I haven't felt anything of that particular flavor since. There was today is obviously Tuesday for me. So Sunday, I was doing a 3-hour drive back to where I used to live to do the final pack up and clean up. And on the way down, actually all that morning before we even left, there was a kind of funky vibe. And on the drive down, out of nowhere, a big black crow, I mean, these birds are big, a big black crow came, I saw it coming. It came from the right and got to the front of the car and just whoosh into the windscreen and suicided right there on the windscreen of the car. And in Indigenous law here, when an animal sacrifices itself for you in such a manner, which is what that thing it honestly looked like it did, it means it is breaking or intervening on something coming your way. It intercepts. It takes it for you, takes the hit for you. And about 10 minutes, after that incident, the whole energy just shifted. It got really clear and clean and felt much better. It was a kind of wild experience. So yeah, anybody? I'm looking for answers, and Joseph has his hand up. Joseph.
Yeah, let me put my video off. Okay, I'm unmuted. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Doc.
I really feel that we need to collectively have a meditative focus on we're getting out. We're blowing through this construct. I feel there's a frequency fence that has not come down. And because it hasn't come down, the divide and conquer meme is just driving us nuts. But I'm feeling this tsunami of the change, and the wave of new energy is building. And when it builds, that will break us through. I'm just not exactly sure what the catalyst is. And the mystery is, Heather has mentioned before that all it takes is just one. And I'm wondering if that applies here. Thoughts, Lisa, and anybody else in the room, please.
Thank you, Joseph.
You're welcome. I'll mute.
Okay, so if anybody has a comment on that one, please put your hand up or type it in and I'll read it out for Joseph. Okay, so the divide and conquer meme. Okay, for me personally, I'm not spending any time out there online talking, looking at Facebook. I'm not out there. So I'm not reading the collective from that perspective, and I haven't done for quite a while. So divide and conquer, I'm not seeing because it's just not part of my awareness. However, on the energetic, it always feels like it's neck and neck. It has done for a long, long time. The more we wake up, the more we raise our vibration, so does the counter energies. And it stays pretty much neck and neck. But I agree that there will be a point where it just, this one takes off, this one drops away. And if that's the breaking of a frequency fence, could well be. But I personally also haven't really felt into where the collective's at in the last couple of weeks. Because they've been a little bit preoccupied. So I can't really comment too much on that, Joseph, but if anyone else can. Things in my personal life seems to go haywire a bit, like everything that should have been straight up suddenly wasn't. Birds especially intervene. Ravens are protectors. What day was it? It was Sunday. Crows signify a death often. They can alter your consciousness. Ravens will sacrifice themselves if necessary. Okay, I'm just looking for comments. So. I'm not aware of the divide and conquer, but it feels a matter of where you put your attention. The work we've been doing lately is the remembering and feeling awareness of the greater love, and that's what's real. Divide and conquer is a big distraction. Don't buy into it. Been hearing more voices at night. Oh yeah, that mass shooting in Vegas. I heard about that just before I went to bed last night, so I haven't even looked into it. But I'm assuming it's got false flag written all over it. I don't know, just a guess. Anybody has looked into it, let me know. Okay. So no one's really commented on whether or not, there was one comment about things that should have gone one way looking like they're going another, but is your sense that it really is interference, or is it a rebalancing or a that how do I put that? There's something better, so it's realigning. What? This Vegas one, worst shooting in history of the States, 58 dead. Is that true? Over 500 injured. That's the latest on mainstream news. Oh, sorry. Teresa, you're unmuted.
Can you
No, I love you.
That's a good.
Oh, that cancer, okay. Try again?
No.
Yeah.
Is that any better?
Yes, it is.
Oh, goodness. Well, I'm always out when your show is on, so I try so hard not to miss it. Depends on where I'm at. If this comes through okay, I would just like to say a few things really from the deepest part of my heart. One, I did notice something in you, and then after you told the story about the bird, that must be what I saw, because there's a light around you that I haven't seen until, like, you know, it's getting brighter, but like today there was like a really bright light around you for some reason. And then when you told that story, maybe that had something to do with it. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The other thing, I was listening to what Joseph said, and I've really been feeling into a lot of these things right now that's happening. This is just like an opinion, a theory, and my take on it. But it might seem kind of simpletonless or whatever. But it's almost like I'm sensing that even though we know the pain and suffering that's going on in the world, we know that it's there. And we see it we can't avoid it. It's almost like I do believe they're trying to keep us in our pain bodies. I understand what you're trying to say about lifting and letting go of. It's like an unhealthy emotion, not just who we are as people in our bodies, but if we can bring in that love and oneness with one another, regardless of what's going on, that to me is the victory. They're not going to win if we do that, even with the awareness of what's going on. It's like learning the understanding of walking with pain and pleasure at the same time, but bringing it back to the innocence of a child so that we can then be in joy and awe and love and have fun and all of those things while this is going on. That shows them, if there is one, that they can't beat us. Plus, it also allows us to allow others to do their process. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or is going through, or their narrative or our narrative or your narrative. It's all about the unfolding. It's all about love. It doesn't, and we all have different ways of getting there. And that's the whole thing. The divide and conquer, the divide thing, I think there's key there, because that's what keeps us in our pain body. Oh my God, my best friend, and all of a sudden, but no, that's their process. You can still have love, even communication. But I think that's what the all thing sort of means. It's like, I mean, you're getting these meetings and the visuals and all these things, but for me, I have found that keeping love in my heart, regardless of what is going on around everybody else's process, I feel it's working for me. That's all I can say. I'm healing. I feel brighter. Each day is stronger. Sure, it's not that you don't have challenges, but you are wielding in so much more joy, love, awe, and wonder, and having fun, regardless of what's going on. So anyway, I just wanted to really express that, because I took my time Sunday to listen to as many of the calls that I could, because I haven't been able to be on them. And I mean, I'm just really, when you're just sitting there being an observer, and truly listening to everything that everybody's saying and everything that's going on, it's the bottom line of love. I think that's what's bringing love people together. It's what's bringing, friends together more. It's, that, I know it sounds simple, but what the fuck else is there? Joy and love. And I'm going to mute. But anyway, that's my take. Love to all.
Great rant. Thank you.
Thank you.
And which was the prompting I needed to go back and talk about the emotional body thing too. So I'll get to that. We've got a few hands up though. Oh, what? And Jennifer, you're unmuted.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to comment on your crow story. I've had some experiences with crows, never a suiciding crow, but I actually found a crow in the street one time with a broken wing, and I took it home and put it in a dog kennel, and I was hoping to restore it myself, and then it began to pull out its feathers, and it was just horrible. Like, it had bald patches, and it didn't look very nice, and I persuaded a local bird rescue to take it on. I think they do that in captivity, but after I did that, crows started like coming to me and sending me messages, and they were kind of warning me of danger most times. And it happened about 3 specific times that I can think of right now, but where they would actually fly hovering, right, like looking right at my eyes and squawking really loudly, like weird. And after each incident, something really dramatic happened. And anyway, I know in the indigenous lore here, they're communicators from other realms, and they are a bridge between other realms to this realm, and that's really interesting. I'd like to read about that case, but I mean, it's kind of probably an honor that a crow approached you, and I think it would be cool if you tried to connect, in a meditation with one. I haven't really been experiencing personally. I just kind of skim the news a little bit. There's a couple things I follow, a few, indie people I follow, but I mean, for me, I'm really kind of immersed in my own personal struggles right now, and I don't know, my friend says it feels like I've been having these terrible back problems and headaches, and he feels like it's something else. It's symbolic of something else, and I wonder if I'm having any kind of energy shift symptoms, but like I've had knee problems, and I mean, that's all I really get. I was also going to mention, I didn't really have time to send a link to this. I read this article on Higher Density blog, and most of the stuff I just ignore on there, but it said a lot of things that you were talking about much earlier in the year. It talked about a waiting room and different ideas, and at first I was like, oh cool, confirmation, but then I thought, oh, maybe they're just like using your material. So it might be worth taking a look at. It's like the first or the second post on today's blog.
Okay.
I can't really repeat it very much, but anyway, that's my 2 cents for today.
I'd be interested in hearing about it or reading anybody.
Yeah,
else.
I'll try to post the link later when I'm at home. It's kind of hard for me on my cell phone, but yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Dawn. Hey, Tom. Did you want to be on camera for this one? It's public. Okay, okay. We've got JJ. You're unmuted. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Two things. Birds.
Uh-huh.
I was making many trips between Seattle and Richland in Washington State. It's like a 5-hour drive. And birds would sometimes fly at the car in oblique angles or with nothing, no suiciding. They would always act as a warning to situations on the road to be aware of, cops, you know, that kind of stuff. And I acknowledged every time, and it was very relevant. I set the intention, you know, no problems on the trip, and all that kind of cool stuff. And I mean, this happened, I don't know, a dozen times. And so there was like multiple trips back and forth every 2 or 3 weeks. And so I was sort of looking for birds after, you know, a little bit. And they'd come at different angles, and the angle they'd approach the car at told me different things. In other words, different things would unfold just down the road a piece. So it was very meaningful how they displayed themselves in front of the car as I was driving down the freeway or whatever. And that ability to provide shades of gray, if you will, or additional information in terms of just a bird flying at the car kind of thing, I found very meaningful, but also telling in the sense that there was that degree of additional information embedded in their behavior. I don't know whether it was something they were doing or something just I noticed or whatever it was, but it was there nonetheless. So I thought that was pretty cool. Second thing, last night and the night before, I've been having some interesting dreams. Not huge, just, you know, I don't normally remember my dreams, but last night was particularly telling, at least for right now. In 2 separate dreams, 2 separate situations, basically the takeaway is we can't go back. We can try, but it's not going to be the same. The way forward is not back. The way forward is forward. In other words, the familiarity, the stuff that would, you know, draw us into the past, to previous behaviors, to previous situations, it is dolled up a little bit. It looks a little nicer. It's got kind of a new spit and polish, and it looks a little neater. You know, there's a little added incentives, that kind of stuff, but it's still going back. And when you examine it and look at it, it's not where we need to be, not where we need to go. And so I guess you could say,
Same girl, different party dress, as the saying goes.
a little nicer party dress in this case. I mean, a little maybe more sequins or, you know, fake diamonds or something. So it was like inviting. It was like, you know, come on back. This is even better than it was before.
Yep.
Except that you're still doing the same old, even though it might look a little nicer. But once they got you there, then, you know, of course, the party dress can come off and it's just blue jeans and a t-shirt or, you know, whatever. So it kind of reminds me of a facade, a false facade, but trying to be something other than what it is, and trying to be bigger than life or better than it was. But you're still doing the same old stuff. I mean, you're not changing the fundamental layer. It's just trying to put a new party dress on it.
Yep.
So I thought that was rather interesting, and it sort of, the manifestations, you know, don't matter too much. It's just, that's the message from the overall, you know, dropping the other shoe kind of a deal. So for what it's worth, and for what we're going through here, there is no going back. We know too much. We've experienced too much. We know what it's like back there or in the past. And I can't say it's scare tactics, but at the same time, there's that tendency to want to stay with the familiar. And it can sometimes be amplified, like new party dress. But it's not where we're going. Let's put it that way. And some of the confirmations that we've been getting are eye-opening, to say the least. So it's tempting, I suppose you could say. That's the whole point, is it's tempting, but it's going backwards. That's about it for now, anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, I know what you're talking about in terms of the birds flying past, you know, giving you warnings and what have you. Never had one do this before. It was so, it looked so strategic, its movements. You know, I did see it coming. And then just at the last moment, it was bizarre, to say the least. We have Karen's got a hand up. Oh, hang on. Where'd she go?
Am I unmuted? Okay.
You are now.
All right. Every time I use this the electronic shit, it does something different. I mean, it asked me to unmute after you unmuted me. It was weird. Couple things. I don't know about the Las Vegas shooting, whether it's false flag, what's going on there, but what I've noticed in just observing with the hurricanes in Texas and Florida and everywhere else, and that the proverbial they're not getting the response that they want, which is the divide and conquer thing, because they are hitting strategic populations. Instead, what they're getting is compassion, service to others, and a bringing down of racial and economic barriers, people cooperating to help each other. Those barriers go away when survival's at stake, and the energies seem to be bearing that out from what I've been able to feel. Secondly, if I understood you correctly, JJ and Lisa, the way forward is not back, the way forward is forward. From what I took from that, that the new shiny party dress thing is equivalent to all of the attempts to fix the existing construct to serve us better, but it's still just another party dress. Is that correct?
Well, JJ'd have to clarify what he really meant by it. I guess what I take from it is things like, financial restructuring, whether it's the RV or something else.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's the attempts to fix the construct, the health system, the economic system, the governmental system, all of the constructs.
Rearranging chairs on the Titanic is what I would call it.
Yeah, I mean, and that feels like going backwards. There is no going back. There's, there was such a thing in, the title of the book that I was always going to write was Getting to the Starting Line, and once you get to the starting line, everything becomes new. This has not been done before. It is kind of neck and neck as they try to adapt to what we're doing. There is no going back. Anything that resembles trying to alter this construct in any way to fix it is, in my feeling anyway, is a going back kind of thing. It's still a 3D thing.
Agreed. And yeah, to clarify the definition of false flag, just for someone in the chat, no, it doesn't mean that people didn't die. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that the official version of events is not true. It means that the people who perpetrated the event is not as advertised. Usually these things are put down to a single individual or perhaps some, agency-created terrorist group. But a false flag means it's like 9/11 was a false flag in the sense that it wasn't a couple of guys in a plane with box cutters.
There's an agenda behind it from
Yes.
some other parties.
Problem, reaction, solution, and there is an agenda behind it to achieve a particular goal. and it's not the official story.
And that's what I was saying about their goal is to create more, divide and conquer and fear. And what they're actually getting is just the opposite. They're getting compassion, cooperation, bringing down of racial and economic barriers between people. I'm sure that's not always the case, but I'm seeing a lot more of that, and the energies are leaning more in that direction, at least from what I've been able to feel. I don't know if anybody else has any comments on that.
Well, which kind of again leads to this whole emotional body discussion, because YouTube's a great place to go to watch how, what's being said by whoever in a particular video is being perceived, and how strong the agenda is to distort it. So that particular discussion on empathy and the emotional body, I mean, there's a big chunk of comments that, and not just on YouTube, that happened elsewhere, that were by people with an agenda to distort. Right. There are a handful of individuals for whom I am the bone they like to chew on, put it that way. So I'm not worried about them, but there was a minority of people who genuinely didn't seem to understand what I was saying. So I, want to clarify myself for them, but the description that came in after I did that show, was like Joseph and his Technicolor coat. It's like we are surrounded by what we're calling an emotional body. And I'm simply referring to empathy as it has been described by, the whole New Age movement of what empathy is, which is the ability to feel and often be affected by other people's emotional states. And it feels like we have just been operating as emotional bodies bumping up against each other, really, and not getting past that to a true core heart-to-heart connection, which goes beyond it goes beyond the emotional body and it goes beyond being affected by another person's emotions. I think and I feel that this emotional body is not innately an aspect of us, a part of us. It does feel like a sort of overlay of some sort. And we live, and we've been drawn into living in this emotional body, and which is, to me, outside of the heart. But we've been tricked into thinking it's one and the same. It's not about losing compassion or becoming a psychopath or any of those things. It's about going deeper than that, to a place where you can stay and stand in your own heart and your own center and remain balanced while continuing to have compassion and love and understanding for another. And I don't know if that really clears things up or not. But this image of us just being these emotional bodies that just keep bumping up against each other, and we just not being able to get past that and thinking that that's what a real connection is. It's not in my feeling and experience at the moment. When you make a true heart-to-heart connection with someone, it goes beyond the emotional body. And it's a knowing. So I just think that part of the whole New Age deception, one of its many aspects, is this label of empath, and the ability to be empathic. Just when you really, really look at it, it's the ability to be manipulated emotionally. But there is a space and there is a feeling that goes beyond empathy. So I hope that clarifies. And we've got, Lolly's also got a hand up. And you're unmuted, Lolly. No, you're not. No. Ah! There you are.
Couple things. The shootings, it felt like I was there in my sleep last night. And then there's this writer I know. He has quite the outreach and a lot of people on the ground. And he's getting reports of people being shot from the wrong angle. And so, of course, somebody, they always he has trolls, many, many trolls, because he pushes the system. So they're questioning him, challenging him. He says, I'm not saying it's true, and I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just telling you this is what I'm getting so far. He goes, I'm going to, verify it, check it out. But that's going on right now.
Okay.
And then another thing, in where I come from, I'm in Canada, if a bird hits the window and dies, that means somebody is going to die that are close to. That's just what we have about birds here.
And that's when they fly into like a house window.
A house window, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's similar here.
But a raven hitting a vehicle window, that's something different.
Do you know what it is?
No. No, but talking about the emotional body is like my dream like that is so vivid. I don't ever dream like that. And it's like, am I being pulled into this to be emotional? I don't know. It was just, and I've just been anxious all day. Awful feeling.
So it really felt like you were there. Was this before?
Yeah.
Was this before it happened or after you'd heard about it?
Before I heard about it. Before I woke up and looked on Facebook and seen it. It was like I was with a bunch of people and they're running around trying to hide.
Huh. So potentially while it was happening, you were sleeping?
Potentially. But it was just vivid. And it's like there's nowhere to hide. And I don't dream like that, so I don't know like what the hell's going on. Give me back my old dreams.
Well, it could just be that your own personal gifts are broadening.
That could be. That feels like it too. That actually like pings me, like that makes sense to me.
Well, I wonder if anybody else had a similar experience, but I'm sure if they did, we'll hear about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Teresa's back. You're unmuted, Doug. Teresa?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I forgot her name, the girl that was talking right before me, and then JJ, and it all brings it together. Like what she just said, I've been posting on my wall, my personal wall, the same kind of thing. Emotional pain, the deepest type that you can experience, is being transmuted to be lifted out so that we can, and we all are connected with it. It's happening to everybody. I'm hearing it all over the place. It's going on with people that don't even realize what's going on. And I think that that's what it is. That's sort of like connected to what you were talking about the emotions. It's not the unhealthy, it's not the healthy part, but it's the unhealthy part that we're prisoner to right now, that we have to release, transmute, let go of, bring into love, and then boom, you're done. You're connected. But that's just it. That's the problem. That's the challenge. It's hard. It's painful. It's nasty. It's ugly. It's blah, 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 whatever. But just like JJ just said, we can't go back. This is the new. It is a gift. We all have this gift. And that's probably why she had that dream, because she had the premonition of it, because that was such a big and painful situation going on. Okay, but that's exactly the connection that I'm speaking of, that the love that we have to have and the depth of courage that we have to have, that comes out of being able to be vulnerable enough, as our human bodies are, to say, okay, we see this, we know this, we will feel this to the deepest part of ourselves, and we will let it go. And then what happens? Everything that we want together as a collective will start to phase into our eyesight. That's just my take on it. But it just sounds like what I'm listening to everybody say, that's what we're working on. It's forward motion, going home, seeing the beauty, living in the beauty in a consistent manner. And they're fighting to the best of their ability. And maybe it's just to trigger all this. I don't know. I don't know the motives. I don't know about all of that. But it just feels as if this is a precipice of connection, of allowing ourselves to feel all that for one another. When you look into somebody's eyes, even on these videos, you can feel, we feel, and we are connected in that place, in my opinion. And I know it's just an opinion, but it's my experience. And I've been listening to all you guys for a couple years now. I don't say much, but I know this is where we're going. And it is home for me inside. It's beautiful, and I'm going to mute. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but that's where I'm at. So anyway, because I felt it. Oh my God, I got almost to the point where I was going to throw up listening to this one old Midnight Oil video. It was like I felt the pain of the earth come into me to the point where I was going to throw. I swear, you ever felt so much pain that you wanted to throw up?
Yeah.
That's what I felt. And after that happened, and I kind of I don't know what was going on. It just happened and it released. It was like, that was within that same few days of when you guys were having your talks for so long. And then it was like my rheumatoid was gone. Everything starts to shift and change into a different focus. And then you can hold that focus and don't let them distract you back into the division thing. I don't know if it's them or it's actually us. It's our own, unhealthy ego, unhealthy emotions, trauma, programming, all that. Like JJ says, let it fucking go, but you gotta feel it first. Because that's what we're here to experience. And anyway, if go from there, I don't know. I just had to say that. And thank you for allowing me.
Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Beautiful. There's so much going on right now that's being felt in the physical, like you said, wanting to throw up, but because we've got possibly lifetimes of trapped emotion and trauma that we are, I believe, in a process of releasing and letting go of. I do believe we're also being upgraded or going through upgrades, and sometimes they hurt. we are shaking off this emotional body, and in the process releasing so many emotions, and at the same concurrently certain frequencies are leaving, and that also has to come up and out and waves at us on the way out. One of the members who tracks this very, very well and very, very accurately in terms of the frequencies that are leaving talked about, first it was fear, and then courage. And she couldn't quite understand why courage, because courage seemed like a positive vibration or frequency. And yet the description for me of courage is to feel the fear and do it anyway. That's courage. But if there's no fear to feel in the first place, then courage is unnecessary. If there's nothing to be frightened of, there's no need for courage. So to me, there is a connection between the two. The latest one is narcissism. And I will see if I can find the notes on that. One moment. Because if narcissism is leaving, the frequency of narcissism, how that can look as it's waving at us on the way out. It could get ugly. Here we go. Okay, so what she's been measuring is the intensity of the frequency. So from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is the most intense frequency of narcissism in this case. And it was on a 9 on Friday night. By Sunday morning, it was on a 4. And her personal feeling on this is this frequency is extremely dangerous, and it will be coming to the surface all over the place as it gets released. What does the release of narcissism look like? What could it look like? Has anyone come smack up against narcissism in the last few days? In themselves or someone else? Or seen a shift in somebody you would consider a narcissist? What does that look like from, I mean, to me, the controllers of the everything just crashed for a second. Interesting. There is a narcissistic quality to the whole control system. I think narcissism is appealed to get people to play their certain roles within. For people who, what's the word? I don't know, get caught up in some of the ways in which we are controlled. Narcissism is an element that gets amplified in them. So I don't know. Any ideas on thoughts on how that could play out? And we've got John, your unmuted.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, no, when you mentioned the narcissism program leaving, it made sense of an experience that I had Friday, my time, which I guess would be Saturday, your time. And after the call, when we had talked about the love, energy, and all of that coming in, I was feeling very good. I was excited to go to work. I thought, things are going to be great. No, this is all good. And, I was singing and dancing through my day. And when I had gotten to work, apparently they had had the most chaotic week they'd ever had. And the night ahead of me, I didn't realize was going to be the most chaotic night I had had since I ever started working there. And it was like one customer after another kind of hit the one trigger that I have, which is, that kind of ego programming where they kind of wave their finger at you and treat you like a servant and look at you like you're stupid before you even open your mouth, and that kind of behavior. And usually that comes with a lot of really kind of needy attention. So it was almost like being tackled by a bunch of different octopus at the same time. And I felt like an octopus too, just trying to hold space and balance the energy and keep things flowing. And I realized that anytime I gave into it and kind of not lashed back, but, did something that was not of my highest good, I felt so not terrible about it, but just kind of mad at myself for not, playing the game the way that I would want to play it, which is, by holding space and being calm and being loving and all of that. But I realized that by kind of singing and dancing through it and laughing it off and all of that, that it would just diffuse them pretty quickly. And as chaotic as the entire night was, there was no major drama. No one died. It was good. We got through it. Everything was fine. It was just a lot. And we had 2 nights in a row that were like that. And then Sunday came along, Monday, your time. And energetically, I was just spent, completely dead. And it was because I realized that I had been putting out so much energy just trying to hold space. And I guess if it was beyond ego programming, almost like a communication breakdown, like a lack of empathy, honestly, in terms of people that I was dealing with. But the energy that day, Sunday, when I woke up, beyond just feeling exhausted, was almost this heavy kind of anticipation energy, like you would feel before you skydive or get on a roller coaster, that kind of like, not exactly fear, but just like this feeling in the pit of your stomach that's just building and building. And so at the end of the night, Sunday night, I realized I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And I thought about the emotional body, and I thought about the ego programming and all that was kind of within my own firewall that was stuck to me, that I wasn't shaking exactly as good as I was doing. I still had, my issues. And I knew how easy it was to step into the love frequency, because if I just forced myself to smile or think of something happy, I could snap out of any of the worst that I was going through. But I went through and I tried to think about the emotional body and just, knowing that I had the proper frequency to dissolve it, or whatever you want to say. And went through and worked and cleared it and cleared it and cleared it and cleared it. And then finally just went to bed. Everything was fine. And I woke up this morning to see the whole thing about Vegas on my phone. And I clicked on it and I read through the article. And it was about 15 minutes later that I realized I just didn't react. There was no reaction whatsoever, not good, bad, indifferent, just it was what it was. And I saw it and I was reading it. And I kind of wondered, I was like, well, I wonder if that's connected to trying to drop that emotional body, because that would be where either a fear-based reaction or a sorrow-based and empathetic-based, I'm going to feel into that and experience that kind of vicariously through this news article. Like, there was none of that. It was just, okay. And the rest of the day after that was honestly fine. But so those were a couple little parallels, I guess.
So if these events are orchestrated in order to feed off the emotional body of everyone, it it didn't get anything from you. It didn't get a feed.
Not what it would have, because I know how I would have reacted before. I would have, seen the videos and cried. Especially like if I ever see videos of people running for whatever reason, that's a very big trigger for me. I don't know if it was because of 9/11 and I was so young when that happened that maybe just because of that, but there was nothing. It wasn't, and like I said, it wasn't indifference to it, because I think that that's part of the programming too, is that if you don't react, it's, oh, well, you're cold-hearted, you're indifferent, but it was just kind of, it was what it was. And of course, looking for the clues, like, okay, well, I know that this just isn't what they're saying it is, so there's a little bit more here, but no fear, nothing significant that measured on the scale, at least.
Interesting. Thank you. And it was directly tied to what you went through the day before, is what you're feeling.
I mean, the weekend that I had was very emotional, just in terms of the moments that got me.
Yeah.
Because, for example, at work, I got through it as best as I could, but when somebody finally hit that emotional trigger, I got very angry and frustrated and started to make mistakes. And I caught myself and recognized that, I was perpetuating that. I was responsible for that energy and I had to do something about it. And from that point forward, it was good. But I kept noticing that through the weekend, waving on the way out, these really emotional things that I was mad that I was even experiencing, because it wasn't worth it. So finally, Sunday night, my time, was when I just really went in and did that kind of clearing, or whatever you would call it. Nothing formal at all, but just very intense and very strong-willed, so to speak. So, but that was the goal of it, was just to get rid of that, anything that was inauthentic. Any sort of inauthentic overlay, whether it be the emotional body or anything else, just to work on clearing that. So we will see.
And how do you feel now?
I feel good now. I feel calm, quiet. The world felt a little quiet today, which was bizarre. There were crickets during the day, all day, which I've never heard before, which is a little bizarre, but just very quiet and peaceful. So no complaints on my end.
Good. There is that, you just mentioned it too, there is that sense of the world is quieter. There is more space in between things.
Well, ironically enough, someone that I was with today, who doesn't know anything about what we're talking about, had driven into New York City earlier in the day today. And he said it was so bizarre. It was like a ghost town. He's like, I've never seen New York City so empty. He's like, I drove across the bridge in a minute. That never happens. It's usually a 45-minute wait. And then you could park anywhere you wanted. There was nobody on the streets. And I just kind of kept thinking about, what we've been talking about in relation to that. So, yeah, it's noticeable.
But to me, those experiences happen periodically. So you can have a moment like that. You go into New York and it's a ghost town, and the next time you go in, it's crowded again. But when you are in that, it's a ghost town experience. It's almost like you've shifted into another timeline or reality for a moment. I don't know. They're periodic, but there's a very different flavour to everything in those moments. The air
there is, and
different.
The idea that those moments are kind of like a pause for a reset. I know that we had discussed that. And it's kind of, if you could visualize like lining up 2 reels of film so that, you're getting that same image, so to speak, if we're merging timelines, if we're integrating any of that, because it seems like there's so much integration happening that would make sense. And if in that moment there's less people, because a lot of the people who are in the background are not actually people and just, non-playable characters in the game, then maybe for a second they're just not there. and that would make things a little bit quieter, I'm sure. But even beyond that, with
Oh,
integration, there was a lot. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, okay, there's been the feeling or a knowing or a doubt or whatever you want to call it, about 3 times in the last week of being moved into a new space. So when the message came through that everybody was being moved, that everybody was being, what was the words? That basically we were all being pulled into the same space, everyone everywhere. Which was the reason the physical bodies needed a bit of an upgrade. So over the course of the last week, like I said, there's been about 3 times where it's felt like we've shifted into a new space. And the description you just gave then was kind of felt right in the sense of we get moved and then all the backdrop follows. Then, we get moved into this new space and then the scenery gets filled in around us. All the backdrop is anywhere, and that would include the backdrop people, right. Backdrop scenery, the backdrop, everything kind of comes in later, gets filled in.
And I question whether it's been only 3 times or just nonstop consistently, because even outside of those pause moments, there's just so many bizarre little shifts, moments where things look unfamiliar. And I've been having, in this past weekend alone, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, constant deja vu that's related to dreams I've had recently. So I'm doing something, I'm opening a yogurt or something stupid like that, and I realize that I just had a dream where I was doing this in a different scenario, and constantly throughout the day. And it almost, I had a feeling that it was almost as if that is kind of like those reels lining up, like a fractal integration kind of a thing, where when that fractal is entering your atmosphere, so to speak, it's like the shooting star that you see just for a moment when everything kind of comes together. As if, if so many things are closing out, if we're saying, all of the animal kingdoms are closing back into their progenitive creator, or whatever it was that we had discussed, and things like that, it would kind of make sense that everything's being pulled back into us as well. Because it just feels like everything is aligning in its own little way, so that can just happen as easily as possible, because it feels constant. So
yeah, those pause moments have been intense. They're not moments, they've gone for 30 to 40 minutes sometimes. Everything goes still.
Absolutely. But I think beyond that, what I had learned, at least when I was at the restaurant dealing with all of that, is just being a force for balance, because I was kind of naive in thinking that if we were all having a happy moment, that everyone would be having a happy moment as well. And it seems like that's almost when the tests get a little bit harder, because we're doing a little bit better. So, just not falling for the divide and conquer, even if someone's treating you a way that you wouldn't exactly like, especially in a customer service kind of a way. There is such a thing, I believe, as killing people with kindness, because it does kind of seem to diffuse whatever program is running through them.
It does, I agree. Yep, absolutely. Chris just wrote, 3 is the magic number. I heard today 3 big shifts coming, 3 new colours coming. I'd love you to elaborate on that, Chris, if you could. Either put your hand up if you want to come out and speak, or just type something else in. A force for balance, yeah. Well said. When P got home from doing her shopping, there was a black car parked outside with the license plate NS Crow 3. NS Crow 3. What does that mean? NS Crow 3. Escrow? Oh, it's a real estate agent's car. Oh, that's funny. In escrow. Hmm. Yes, but in alignment with talking about crows and ravens. So, Chris, have you got anything else on that? Not yet. Okay. Well, I can't really elaborate much more than that. It's all part of the shift. Also, the time streams will be merging more into each other and abilities will increase. Okay, thank you, Chris. Well, that's it for me on news of the last week. So if anybody else has anything to add or share, please put your hand up now. And yeah, in terms of frequencies leaving, narcissism, which is, you could almost say it's the opposite of empathy. I wonder how that might play out. Oh, okay, thanks, Laurie. I'll have a look. Yeah, I did, Vivek. I won't over that again. All right, no, I think we're good then. Oh, Karen has a hand up. Sorry.
That's okay. I could have saved it. But it is interesting with the narcissism. The very first thought that I had was when, because I'm a therapist, so narcissism is an ugly condition to work with. When narcissism leaves, which is a total inability really to empathize with others and therefore care for others, including one's own children, etc. My first thought was, well, then they're going to start feeling empathy, and that is going to overwhelm them. They're not used to it. They don't know what the hell's going on, etc. So yeah, just a confirmation. That was my exact first thought. They're going to start feeling empathy now, and that'll make them go crazy.
In my experience with dealing with a couple of narcissists, they have no concept of the repercussions for their actions for others. It's not even that they don't care. It's like they have no concept. It would almost be like waking up to understanding how your actions have affected others. Can you imagine what that would feel like if you suddenly realised how you've hurt others or how you've adversely affected others, and being smacked with that? That would send you crazy. I agree. And then I guess the question would be, would they then be able to move through that empathy into this other place that we're talking about and actually make a real heart connection with people? That's going to be quite the journey for some. Thank you, Karen. Susan, you put your hand up. Yes, you're unmuted.
Okay. I live here in the Bible Belt in the United States, and I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. it says you cannot. Okay, I'm unmuted.
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you.
Oh, okay, because my computer's saying that something different. But anyways, Jehovah and the God of the Bible being the biggest narcissist, and me feeling the energy of being here in the Bible Belt, where people are so proud to be a slave and a servant, and just prostrate themselves before him. With his energy being removed, people's hearts are going to be affected so big time. I can't even imagine, because this that being a servant, they are so disempowered. They give absolutely everything away, and they keep themselves in poverty and servitude.
Yep.
That could just change everyone so quickly.
Okay. Now you makes me wonder if, because yes, I agree, the biggest narcissist of them all is that character in the Bible. But there has also been plenty of people who have speculated that the AI that runs this construct is in fact that character, the Yaldabaoth, the Yahweh character. Which begs the question, is it the same character we've been jokingly calling the artificial Italian, that AI, and was it removed, dealt with, and that's why Claire is now picking up that frequency is leaving? Is it all connected? Holy shit. The timing on that is interesting. Because it would reverberate the way I see it and the way that I saw it back in 2013. It would filter down. So if it was removed from the very top of the construct in terms of the harvesting structure, then it would filter down. And if that was removed, and that is its primary operating frequency, holy shit. Thank you, Susan. Time will tell. Okay, Teresa, you've got your hand up again, so you're unmuted.
Lisa, you just hit the nail on the head. I was so tuned into what you were saying, because the bottom line is us, is our connection. We're bringing it about. We're lifting that fucking shit up out of here. The narcissist, I'm talking about Yahweh, the whole damn thing. The more we connect at our heart space, and I think that's one thing I would like to help you clarify.
Sorry, sweetie, you're really not coming through well. It's breaking up really bad.
That any better? Okay, is that any better?
Marginally.
Hold on one second, and I'll try one more.
Oh, you're good now.
Okay. The emotional body, when you're talking about it leaving, you're not talking about our heart space leaving. You're talking about allowing our hearts to connect. The emotional body that's unhealthy has got to go, so that our love parts can connect.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're going insane. It means you're becoming sane. It means you're becoming your true self, your consciousness, your love, your light body, your higher vibration. And the more all of us do that together, of course, that shit dissipates. It cannot remain in this kind of light. So the more and the more of us do this, even with one another that we don't interact with, look, I'm dealing with a narcissist and I'm seeing the changes, and it is possible. They have the deepest pain sometimes to transmute. And that's why they're so protective of themselves. And it's all about them. I have been hurt by a narcissist more times than I can tell you. And I know what's going on there. It's I'm not talking about the bots or whatever all that crap is. I mean the heart-based ones, the ones that, it's almost an insanity. But the more light we shine out there, the more possibility that those folks will be able to heal, because we are energy and vibration, and it extends out. We all know this. It's been all over the place. We know this is a fact, that our love and our vibration will connect more and more and more and more and more, and more people will have the strength and the courage and energy to feel that pain, because we're kind of like assisting them. The stronger we are, the more courageous we are, the higher that we can get. And I'm not trying to talk too much, but you just said it. You just said it. We're doing this together. The unity has to remain. No matter what the narratives are, the love has to stay there, period. And that's changing everything. We're seeing it in front of our eyes. We're seeing it. It's being measured. Like you just said about Claire measuring this. It is true because it is energy. The energy of love and light. I ain't talking about the new age shit. I'm talking about what's real and authentic in the depths of our core, our heart, that the emotions had to be cleared. It didn't mean that we're not capable of feeling, but emotions aren't the same thing as feeling love. And I'm going to stop there. That's all. You're in it, girl. You got it figured out, man. Thank you. You're muted, Lisa.
I said, well, that's debatable, but thank you. Okay. Lots of good rants from Teresa today. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Members, I'll see you tomorrow, if not before. And see you next week for everybody else. Bye for now.